Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now today's video is a little bit different and I'm trying something new. So this is why I've got a face cam today, so I'll see how I get on and maybe I'll do more of this kind of content in the future. But anyway, we'll get straight into it. Today I'm going to be showing you my top 10 favourite settings in Modern Warfare 3 that apply to Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, to zombies and Call of Duty Warzone, except for DMZ. Rest in peace. Alright, let's get straight into it. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is open up the side menu and then go to the settings tab that has the little cog icon on it. And what you'll see here is you'll have a search bar that you can search for settings if you know the name of the setting that you want to change. And you've also got quick settings, which is basically a list of your top 15 favourite settings that you can pin to this section, so they're really easy to get to. This is quite handy because the settings for Modern Warfare 3 are really expansive and there's so many of them for you to change and do whatever you want with, so having stuff in your favourite settings is really useful. Okay, so at number 10 we've got Field of View, or FOV for short. Now, Field of View is a really important setting. The maximum field of view you can have is 120 and the lowest I think is 60. Now, having a larger field of view basically means that your game is going to be more zoomed out essentially. You're going to have more vision on your peripherals so you can see what's going on around you. It also means that if you have a bigger field of view, being zoomed out, it gives the illusion that you're actually moving faster, so it makes gameplay feel more fluid and smooth. If you have a lower field of view, so you have it at the lowest at like 60, everything feels quite constrained and movement does feel very slow. So if you can change your field of view, I highly recommend setting it to 120. At number 9 we have the voice chat microphone mode. Now I have this set to push to talk because basically no one likes listening to an open mic. Whether you've got background music going on or someone talking in the background, it's quite distracting, and when you're listening to someone else it's super annoying. So for PC players that can make use of this setting, always turn push to talk on, and if you can bind it to either a certain key on your keyboard or a foot pedal, it means you can keep your communications private. It's also really good as well if you make use of Discord chat. You can talk in Discord and then you can have game chat closed, so no one in the game, like an enemy player, can hear you actually talk to your teammates, which is really handy. For number 8, this is more for controller players. This doesn't actually apply to keyboard and mouse players, but we have the reload and interact behaviour. Now, for me personally, I really like using tap to interact because it means that when I want to pick up something like armour plates or interact with an item around a map, it means I can simply tap to interact with it and I don't need to hold a button down and use those precious seconds in between when someone might be able to get the jump on me. So I always recommend using tap to interact because it just makes interacting with the world a little bit faster. Okay, so at number 7 we have the armour plate behaviour. Now this setting is very similar to the previous setting I've talked about, and again it applies to controller players more than mouse and keyboard players. But basically you can change the setting here to either plate up one plate or plate up to full plates. Now this setting in particular, I've changed it to apply one single plate, because it fixes a problem that I was having in zombies where I would run out of plates and I would also run out of ammo. So I would plate up and then try and reload, but every time I put a plate in I would try and reload, but then I'd try and put another plate in and that would cancel the reload. So I would be stuck with no ammo and no plates, which was really annoying, especially when a zombie horde was trying to swarm me. So this is really useful because I can basically say I want it to put one plate on and then I have to either press the button again to plate up again, or I can hold the button down and plate up to max plates, and then I can finish my reload if I need to. Moving on to setting number 6, we have inverted flashbangs. Now if you're someone like me that likes to play late at night in low light conditions, when you're flashbanged, having a bright white screen flash up at you can be really blinding. So if you turn this on, it'll actually change into a black screen, which is a lot easier on the eyes. So if you're playing something like Shipment and there's flashbangs being thrown around all over the place and you're constantly getting a white screen flash up at you, it can actually be really damaging to your eyes. So if you turn this setting on, you'll have a black screen instead. Now, it doesn't actually reduce the effects of a flashbang, but it does just make it a lot easier to see on screen when you have a black screen that flashes up instead. So I definitely recommend that you turn this one on. Okay, so we've got 5 settings left to get through, but before we do that, I just want to remind you that you can become a member of the channel by clicking the join button down below. Now, when you become a member of the channel, you get a few cool perks. You get a badge next to your name, depending on how long you've been a channel member for, you get exclusive emojis to use on my videos, and you also get some cool perks as well. So if you want to become a channel member and support me in making future videos just like this one, I'd really appreciate it, but it is totally optional. If you do have any ideas about channel member perks that you'd like to see in the future, let me know down in the comments below. At number 5 we have subtitle settings that you can enable to get closed captions on screen for all characters that have dialogue. You can enable or disable subtitles for each game mode such as campaign or multiplayer, and you can even use subtitles to your advantage. If you're close to an enemy player, sometimes their operator will say things when they interact with stuff. You might not hear it in game, but it'll appear in the subtitles and is colour coded, so you'll be able to tell that an enemy operator is fairly close to your position. Right then, at number 4 we have war tracks as a passenger. Now, whether you're a content creator or you just like to stream your gameplay, copyrighted music is always a tricky thing to navigate. Obviously, you don't want to get a copyright strike by playing music you don't have permission to play, but sometimes it just can't be helped. But turning this setting off means that you won't hear any war tracks at all. So that means that when you get into a vehicle as a passenger, any war tracks that the driver would normally be playing won't be played for you, which is really handy. Next up is setting number 3, which is colour customization. And this is a really cool setting that I didn't know existed until a few days ago. But basically what you can do is you can change the colour of your team, the enemy team, and the objectives on both the TAC map and the in-game waypoints. And this is really useful because you can actually change the colours that get assigned to your squad mates as well in Battle Royale matches and zombie matches. So you can change all of the colours that you see in-game exactly to your liking, which I think is pretty cool. At number 2 we have telemetry, and no, I'm not talking about the telemetry data that Activision collects. No, this is separate to that. What I'm talking about is you can basically enable certain widgets in the top left hand corner of your screen that show certain telemetry data, such as your FPS counter, or maybe like a latency counter. And you might have seen in my videos that I also have a clock there as well. So if you're like me and you lose track of time and you play too much, having a clock up there can be quite useful to help you keep track of the time. But this is just something that's quite useful to have in-game. If you're having some issues with your connection or your overall PC performance, it's quite handy to have these kind of things on screen that you can just glance at, and you can try and get a picture of what's happening on your system as you're playing. Okay then, at number 1 we have the blocked players list, and yeah, it's not really a setting, I don't know why they've put it here, but essentially your blocked players list lets you manage who can communicate and play with you in game. So this is quite handy because you can only have a maximum of 200 players blocked at any one time, so being able to manage this list periodically is quite useful because it lets you remove old players that you've blocked from a long time ago and add new players if there's anyone that you don't really want to play with. So it's worth checking this out to see who you've actually blocked and whether you want to unblock them or not. And that's it. That's my top 10 settings for use in Modern Warfare 3. But before I go, I just wanted to do an honourable mention for something that, again, I didn't realise existed until a couple of days ago, which is the patch notes. If you open up the settings menu and go down to the bottom, you'll see a little button that says patch notes. If you click on that, you'll go through to another page where you can see the patch notes for previous games. If you select the game you want to see, it will have the patch notes for the last sort of 6 to 9 months, which is really useful to see what's changed over time and see if they've reverted any changes as well. So it's worth keeping an eye out on here, rather than having to go to the Call of Duty website to see when they've updated it on there. So that's it from me. Let me know what your favourite settings are down in the comments below. And as always, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and become a channel member if you want to. But aside from that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.